Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com. Well, we know it's an exciting time of year. We got a lot coming up. We got a show now with Keeneland Dan. Most of you know the Keeneland Rules of Keeneland Dan. We got a couple of spots that we're going to talk about a couple of other things. We got the Past the Wire annual Breeders' Cup seminar coming up. There's a link to it in the write-up to the video. Grab your spot now while you can. You will be glad you did. And sit back and enjoy the show.
Paulie Tow Truck, Brooklyn, New York. I know John, PastTheWire.com, about 40 years now, and I can tell you something, nobody better than this man. After all, they call him the Pick 6 King, PK6, not because he was Walmart's best shopper of the month, you know what I'm saying? Subscribe, the Breeders' Cup's coming up. PastTheWire.com, don't show up unarmed.
Most profitable Breeders' Cup ever with Past the Wire. Sign up now for the annual Breeders' Cup seminar. All the angles, winning insights, betting strategy, and more. The best Breeders' Cup seminar on the planet, only from Past the Wire. With a proven track record of success, nobody does it better. Reserve your spot today at PastTheWire.com. To and through the 2023 Breeders' Cup World Championships, exclusive interviews, barn tours, winning insights, and more. Join Past the Wire all week long on the backside and at the rail from Santa Anita. Past the Wire at the Breeders' Cup World Championships is presented by Amwager and Dare to Dream Stable. Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stettin. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit PastTheWire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie. Tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
Frankie Dettori, legend, world-class jockey, one of the best ever to sit in the saddle, ambassador to the sport of kings. Meet Frankie during his fanfare like never before, only on Past the Wire TV.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Past the Wire TV, our Keeneland Fall Meet 2023 little preview and little special treat with Keeneland Dan Cronin, Fatbaldguyracing, and some of his very valuable Keeneland rules that are tried, tested, proven, and we're going to talk about them. Right, Dan?
Absolutely.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Can't wait to get this meet started. Like we talked about, I mean, this weekend's cards are great. I mean, I can't wait to dig in.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a preference yourself between Keeneland Spring and Keeneland Fall?
Yeah, I like the fall better because I think you get a better grasp of not as many horses off of layoffs, not as many guessing horses where you got a solid form. And
Right.
I think the baby races are way better too. I mean, because the 2-year-olds of now, there's the good ones are running. You got some starts under their belts. You're not just Wesley Ward and a bunch of trainers you've never heard of, running in the spring. Where now, I mean, the big time boys got their 2-year-olds cranked and ready. And I mean, you can really get some solid 3, 4, 5 to 1s on first time starters and horses that have run once or twice that got big chances.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the Keeneland Dan Keeneland rules. We'll get to that in a minute. But let me ask you this: are the rules or the patterns or trends or things that you follow different in the spring and the fall, or is it pretty much rule wise the same?
It's pretty much the same. I mean, the only difference is that instead of looking for Gulfstream shippers in the spring, we're looking for Saratoga and Kentucky Downs shippers in the fall. But it's still the same. You got your places that you want to avoid, like Hawthorne shippers, Belterra shippers. You want to avoid those horses. California horses on grass, you avoid them like the plague. And you still got to stick to those rules. So, it might be different places they ship from, but it's the same rule.
Interesting. Why is it, and I know we've discussed this before, but everybody, hasn't seen some of our Keeneland preview shows and some of the, rules shows before. But why is it you think historically that the California horses have a tendency to disappoint at Keeneland, even the live ones that take money and come in looking like they're in good form? They come over to Keeneland and they just don't perform as well as they do in California and even at other parts of the country, because they have shipped on the grass to other parts of the country and done well.
I just think the level of turf horse out there and the depth of turf horses out there is just not as good as Kentucky and New York and South Florida in the winter. I just think the racing at Saratoga, you might have 10 horses on the grass. 6 of them are really nice horses. So you may run 5th and be a really nice horse. Or in California, you might have a 10-horse field on the grass and you might have 1 or 2 that are good. And you see it all the time where a decent horse from Keeneland or Saratoga, a Graham Motion or a Chad Brown, they ship out west and they steal a grade 1 because there's just the depth out there is not there. So you can win races out there and get graded stakes earnings out there that you're really not a grade 1 horse. And then you come to Keeneland and try to take on the big girls or the big boys. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes they make them 2 to 1 and 3 to 1. And it's like, who is making these lines? I mean, this is crazy. This horse should be 10 to 1. And I mean, I remember one beat, I got beat a nose about 3 years ago. And other than that, I mean, just I will not use them in pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s. I throw them out I don't care if they're 8 to 5 or 10 to 1, they're out. If they're a California shipper in a graded stakes race on the turf, they're auto toss.
Really? Or just auto toss?
Yep. I don't even look at them. As soon as I see now, I'm not throwing out Chad Brown, who ran 6 times at Saratoga, and then shipped to California and ran once and then came home. That horse
That's
isn't
not a
California.
California horse, right? I
Right. I'm
understand
talking
that.
about a D'Amato, a Peter Miller, even if a Bob Baffert would ship here on the grass. And, I throw them out on the dirt most of the time, but on the turf, it's automatic. On the dirt, I try to look for reasons to beat them, but sometimes you can't. But most of the time, even on the dirt, you can still toss them.
Really, that's interesting. Well, then let's get into it. Let's get into some of the steadfast rules that if people follow and stick to, it's going to help their meet.
Yeah, well, first of all, you have to bet straight. And I think that's any track, but I think it's very, very important at Keeneland that you can't just come into Keeneland and start trying to bet pick 4s and 5s and just keep firing away. The races are too tough. You've got to zero in on 2 or 3 horses you like that day, and you've got to bet straight on them. You have to, because that will build your budget. If you're good, it'll build your pot, it'll build your budget, it'll keep your confidence going. And those bad beats, because there's so many races finish right on the wire at Keeneland. I can't tell you how many photos I've lost at Keeneland. I mean, because they're all so, there's you got 4, 5, 6 really nice horses, and you're going to have a lot of photos. But I think if you bet straight, that's the main thing for me is you got to bet straight. In the fall, you got to avoid Wesley Ward, where in the spring you're taking him. In the fall, all those 2-year-olds, you got to start looking at Brad Cox as hard as you can look at on 2-year-olds. He loads up for this meet. He's always got a couple of them stashed in the barn for this meet. Todd Pletcher ships a few in. But here's another big rule I got that you'll love. Avoid the big name horse. I believe, let me see that. I think that's rule number 8. But let me look for sure. I got them all here on the pan. Yeah, there it is. Rule 7. Graded stakes, avoid the big name horse. So many times, and it's Sunday, it's going to happen again. Nest is coming in. I love Nest, but they're going to make her 2 to 5. She's already lost the Idiomatic. She doesn't have to win, and half the country's going to single her on every ticket. So what are you going to get if you single her? Where if you single the other horse and Idiomatic wires her again, and there's a big possibility on numbers that she does it again, you're going to get $7.
Right.
So, and Chad Brown has so many big name horses on the turf that get beat at Keeneland. They make him 6 to 5 in every graded stakes race. He's always 6 to 5. He's always even money, and they get beat all the time. I mean, so why single them? Try to beat them. So that's what I try to do in the graded. I'm talking about the big graded stakes races. There's so many big name. I mean, hell, they beat Wise Dan here.
Right.
They washed it off. They ran on the poly track and he got beat. I think he was 1 to 5 or 1 to 9. I mean, it happens. So, I can name a ton of them that have gotten beat over the years. And you saw in the Breeders' Cup, so many big name horses got beat in the Breeders' Cup. It just, at Keeneland, for whatever reason, they don't call it the graveyard of favorites, but I'm telling you, in graded stakes races, it happens over and over and over. And Chad Brown is the biggest offender. They make him favorite. He ships them in, and they immediately make him 6 to 5 in a really tough field. And you can get some real nice prices around and by avoiding him. So,
well, I get it, and I think that holds true really at a lot of racetracks. I mean, you see it at Saratoga, the way they bet IRAD sometimes. You know what I mean? He's an underlay, and if you could beat him, you're going to get paid. And he's horses are 6 to 5 because he's on him. That really should be 3 or 4 to 1. Would you say, in your opinion, that Keeneland, although it doesn't have the quote name you mentioned, are they as big a graveyard of favorites in the graded stakes as the Spa, as Saratoga, in your opinion?
I think it is, especially in the fall. A lot of these prep races, man, you get some upsets. You get some big upsets in these filly and mare races as they get ready to go to the Breeders' Cup and the 2-year-old races. They'll make some horse in these 2-year-old races. They'll make them 6 to 5. As soon as you look, you're up. Here we go again. Some 2-year-old ships in from New York, and it's going to be even money. And they don't always win. And you know who gets overlooked really bad here? There's two of them, but the main one is Saez. He's one of the few big riders that will ride in these claiming races, and
Yeah.
and man, he rides
He
hard.
rides them like they're the Kentucky Derby.
Yep, and he wins so many races. You'll look and you'll see a horse 3, 4, 5 to 1, and they made some other cheap claimers shipping in from Churchill 6 to 5, and you just keep staring. And he's so much better than 99% of the riders, and all of a sudden he'll win and pay $12, and you're like, how did I not have Saez? So I made it a rule number 9. Do not leave out the top riders. And right now it's Tyler Gaffleone and it's Saez. You cannot leave those guys out. If they're on any kind of horse in the pick 4 that you think's got a chance, you got it. And now, unless you're single in that race, but if they got, if you're taking 3 or 4 horses, don't leave Saez out at 5 to 1 or 6 to 1. He's going to ride the hair off of them, and you'll be surprised how many that you didn't pick until you knew he was on.
Right, right. No, I'm with you on jockeys making a big difference. A lot of people aren't, and there's a lot of sharp bettors and a lot of people whose opinions I'd say are decent, that are just you got to have the horse. The rider really doesn't impact that much. I'm not of that school. I think riders make a tremendous difference and give horses a much better or much worse chance, depending on who the rider and who the horse is. I agree with you there. Let me ask you about a horse and a situation that we're not really going to see and have to deal with, and it's kind of a shame because the horse is probably going to retire. And you've known me for years, and I'm not a hype guy. You know what I mean? I don't think you'll ever go back and find in all the columns I've written and shows I've done where I've ever said, "Oh, this horse is a freak." I reserve comment on that. I'm really reluctant, but I don't remember a horse I was as impressed with recently, and we've seen some really good horses recently. I mean, Flightline, all the winner of the Arc. I was just so impressed with that horse. And I'll always say that I've got no opinion until I handicap the race. You don't know who's going in the gate. I'm not one of those people that's going to tell you who's going to win the Breeders' Cup Classic today. I'm just not. I'm not giving out the Derby winner. I'll tell you who is on my radar, a couple months before the race, but I'm not going to make a statement in March. Oh, this horse will win the Kentucky Derby, or some 2-year-old that wins at Saratoga. Oh, there's the Derby winner. I think that's just silly. You know what I mean? But when I watched Ace, well, what was his name? Ace Impact, the winner of the Arc. Is that his name?
I think that's his name. Yeah, undefeated.
Yeah.
Easy.
When I saw not the race before the Arc, the race 2 before that, I was watching replays because French past performances, there's nothing worse. Okay.
Oh, I know.
I don't care where you get them.
They can't charge money for that, can they?
Yeah, they do. I don't care where you get them, who you get them from. I think they do it on purpose. But they got the worst past performances in the world for those French races. So a lot of it comes down to watching replays. So I like to bet the Arc. I like that card. So I'm watching replays for 2 days and taking notes. And when I saw that horse's race, not the one right before the Arc, but I said, I don't normally make a statement like this, but I don't really care who this horse is running against. If he runs like that on Arc Day, I don't know that there's a horse around that he's not going to run past. I don't care what pulse, what the condition. If he runs like that, he running past whoever's in the race. I don't care where he is, what happens. And sure enough, I wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be the favorite because he was a 3-year-old, and it's the Arc, and a lot of people like Huckham and Westover, and Gosden was in there with Frankie and whatnot. But I made a nice bet on that horse, and I happened to hit the exact cold. Westover was the one that I was a little concerned with, so I just bet. Couldn't bet an exact. I keep saying I hit the exact cold. I didn't. I had to bet a Quinella because they don't let you bet an exacta. Okay, for whatever.
Old Quinella.
So I bet a Quinella. All right, which I don't think I bet in 20-something years. I was going to bet the Omni, but I wasn't sure what it was, And I hit one a couple of years ago at Ascot with a 40-1 and a 50-1, and it paid like $80. I thought it was going to pay 5,000. So I'm like, what the heck is this? And somebody explained to me, well, with 20-something horses, you only get paid on 16 and this and that. And I didn't understand it, and it didn't really matter because I ain't never betting another Omni anyway. So I had a choice between, I was betting Win, so I was going to bet Win and either Quinella or Omni. Omni was out, so I had to bet the Quinella because they don't even offer an exacta. Okay. So, but that horse, man, I hear he's going to retire. What a shame, because as a 3-year-old with a move like that, I mean, I know Equinox is a freak and rated #1, but I would love to see that horse have a chance to run against a horse like that, or to come here and run against these horses in the Breeders' Cup, because I mean, I don't get impressed easily, but that just looked like a racehorse and a half to me. He was dead last in a 20-horse field, or next to last, okay, galloping wide on the outside, and he looked like a winner every step to me. I mean, Christian Demore looked like he just had, I said, whenever he asked this horse, if he gives him half that move, he's going to just run. And when he swung out and set him down, he was still 8-9 lengths off the lead. I'm like, over, no problem.
I mean, that's what's wrong with racing all around the world. It's just, it is. And I understand it's all money, but that's what's wrong. It used to be racing and then retire them. Well, now it's all about, well, let's race them a few times to see if we can make a bunch of money breeding them. Right. And that's all anybody cares about. From the first minute they get the horse, it's, well, if we can take care of him, run him 5 or 6 times, and he's as good as we think, then we can retire him and make a bunch of money. And
right.
No, it's wrong. It's the opposite.
I agree. I mean, isn't the idea of horse racing to breed and get a horse like Ace Impact and see what he can do over a couple of years? You know what I mean? I mean, Flightline is different, because we all know, it's no secret, Flightline was not sound. Okay. I mean, he had issues, had to be nursed. He wasn't going to run a lot no matter what, But a horse like this, who's obviously,
most turf horses can run until they're 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And I know it's not my money, and I'm not a multimillionaire, but if horse racing put in just a few rules, it would change the whole game. Number 1 would be that they cannot breed, period, till they turn January 1, they turn 5 years old. Under no circumstances are they allowed to cover a mare until they turn 5. That would change the whole game if they did it worldwide, because then there'd be no talk about retiring the Derby winner, no talk about the Arc winner retiring. They would be running, because they're not going to let them sit in a grassy knoll for a year and wait. They're going to run them. They're too greedy. They're going to run them. They might only run them 3 or 4 times, but they're going to run them.
I agree.
I mean, they already do it with fillies, because there's only so many babies you can drop. So the fillies already run until they're 4, 5, 6 years old most of the time. I mean, Zenyatta, I'm surprised they finally retired her. They might have run her till she was 7 or 8. They were enjoying it so much. But that's why the filly and mare division is so wonderful every year. We always get a 3-year-old coming in. Last year, Nest, can she beat the older horses? It's always a great race. You got the older mares that are always so good. And then the classic division's always, did some 3-year-olds develop and some older horses that are just okay. And, if we're lucky enough to have a really good one, then, we got a really good race. Other than that, there's 10 of them that are all just so-so. Like when Vino Rosso won it, they were all just, it was a field of some good horses. But, if they made them all run till the end of their 4-year-old season, it would change racing.
Yeah.
And then not to lecture, not to get off subject to Keeneland, but also if they limited these barns.
Right.
You can't let trainers have 300 horses. You just can't. It's bad for everything. It's getting into what society is. You got Walmart and all the mom and pops are closed. You bring Walmart into a small town and 6 stores closed the next day. And that's what's happening in horse racing. You know, Pletcher's got 10 assistants. Asmussen's got 10 assistants. And, you know, everybody else, everybody else is begging and pleading for a horse.
Yeah, I get that. I'm more on board with the no breeding until 5, because the problem you get into with limiting trainers is, if I've got a horse, okay, and I want Chad to train my horse, okay, I don't want anybody to be able to tell me, other than Chad, that he's not taking the horse. You know, you know what I'm saying? So I think that we would run a lot of owners out of the game if we dictate who they can and can't use, you know? So there's got to be a way to kind of do what you're saying, spread that, you know, wealth, so to speak, of horses across the board.
And maybe it's you can have, you know, 52-year-olds a year and that's all you get. Well,
right.
Chad's got 50 to choose from.
Right.
That's a lot.
Right.
You know, 51, you got to go to Maker. You know, you got to go to Cherie, who's probably better than all of them when she gets a good horse. She's fabulous. You know, there's a lot of good trainers out there that just don't get a chance to have good horses. And I think if we could just figure, like you said, figure out some way that we can spread, not spread the wealth, but just spread the horses out some and give some more people a chance. I like when owners give multiple trainers a chance. I think that's a great thing. So of course it ain't my money, but all right, back to Keeneland.
Keeneland. Okay. More rules. Give us some more rules before we talk about a couple of spots on an opening card.
Rule number 5, never take a dead closer on the dirt.
Okay.
Not a Keeneland. You got to stick to stalking speed and speed. Stalkers are my favorite thing in the world to bet. If they're in a sprint, 5.5, 6, 7, if I can get a horse in the 6 to 9 hole, somewhere in there with stalking speed, I will sail on those horses, unless they're 2 to 5. But if I like a horse 3 to 1 in the 8 hole with stalking speed, that's the horse that I cannot wait to bet on. And you know, there's a couple of them. I love 1-start horses, but for rules sakes, just avoid dead closers on the dirt at Keeneland. They rarely win. And I mean rarely win. And sometimes they'll make horses dead favorite. I hate the 1 hole. That's more of a general rule. It used to be a steadfast rule at Keeneland. But in bigger fields, 8, 9, 10 horses, I avoid the 1 hole like the plague.
Okay.
Now, if it's a 6-horse field, they're going to win sometimes, but the 1 hole sprinting at Keeneland is not, especially on the grass. Sprinting 5, 5.5 on the grass at Keeneland, you do not want the 1 hole. It is a terrible post. And I think there's a favorite this weekend in the 1 hole sprinting on the turf. And I think they made him even money, which the morning lines are a whole different ball game the last couple of years at Keeneland. It's sometimes they're complete misses, but even money on the fence at Keeneland on the turf, going 5.5. I'm avoiding them as hard as I can avoid them. So again, I don't care if they're 3 to 5. If it's an 8-horse, 10-horse field, I'm not taking him. I'm not. And if I can find a horse in the 8 or 9 hole, that's who I'm going to bet on. But I think turf sprinting and dirt sprinting are about the same at Keeneland. You want stalkers. You want horses towards the outside, not necessarily the 12 hole, but you know, there ain't many 12-horse fields anyway. But if you can get somebody in that 6, 7, 8 hole that's got tactical speed, man, you get a great trip. You always get your money's worth at Keeneland. So that's the horses I look for.
Now, let me ask you this. And I don't keep stats on this kind of stuff. I kind of just observe and, you know, have my head computer going. You know, Keeneland, before they went polytrack, okay? And I think they were polytrack, right? Isn't that what they did?
Yeah.
Before they went to that polytrack, in my opinion, Keeneland was, you know, as speed biased on the dirt, a racetrack that you would find anywhere in the country back then, you know, and speed just used to beat horses home all the time, every meet, especially in the spring.
Yep.
I will just watch speed. After they changed from the poly track back to the dirt, it still is what I would say a speed friendly and a stalker friendly racetrack. But in my opinion, and I'm curious if you have the same thing, not as drastic as it was. I mean, there was a time when back then I wouldn't bet a closer at Keeneland under any circumstances, you know, and I can't say that now. I will lean like you to stalkers, speed, and horses that are in much better position, especially in the short stretch races. You don't want to, you don't want to have to make up a lot of ground in that short stretch. You just ain't going to make it no matter how much horse you have. But at least now you will see horses coming off the pace and rallying and getting there, when there was a time, in my opinion, where you just didn't see that. Do you agree with
Yeah.
that assessment or no?
Yeah, it's not as bad as it was. Especially 7 furlongs and the about 7 furlongs. Sometimes you will get that 44 pace and a horse can come off and win. They got a way better chance at 7 and about 7 to come off the pace. The 5.5, especially 6 and 5.5, it's really tough to close ground. You better be close. And in those, the mile, the 1-turn mile, which to me is ridiculous that they don't just, all they got to do is extend the chute another 200 yards and we could have a 1-turn mile like Churchill instead of banking that turn, and then having a short stretch too. You can't take outside horses, and the stats will back that up. And if not the mile and 70 and the mile and 16th, it's just the 1 mile, you better be towards the 5-hole in. And that's big. I mean, you got to make sure you got a horse from the 5-hole in, again, preferably that's got speed or tactical speed, that has Gaffleon or Saez, one of them guys that really knows that track and understands the short stretch. Saez has picked it up so well over the last few years, that short stretch, because he starts riding on that turn where
on the turn, yeah.
Some of them won't do it. They just keep sitting and sitting and sitting. It's like, dude, what are you doing? It's a 16th shorter. You got to go. Where Saez, man, he starts pumping and pumping and pumping, and he's coming. Rosario used to be really good at it, and now it seems like he wants to wait till the head of the stretch and swing him into the parking lot, and then he doesn't get there.
His whole riding, in my opinion, in the past year or two, has completely changed. I mean, he's just not the same type of rider that he was, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on the last at least 6 months. He's really been in a funk to where he's had some just, I don't know, some rides are just because I love Irad. I love Saez. I love Gaffleon now. I didn't in the past, but I do now. Jose Ortiz is lucky for me. I know a lot of people have complaints about him, but for me, he's one of my lucky guys that, man, when I make big bets, he always seems to ride exactly how I want him to ride. And of course, he's good on speed, and I like betting speed and stalkers, so he's going to fit my style. Where Rosario, he either wants to be in front or last. And that drives, I can't bet on horses coming from last. It's not my psyche. I can't do it, John. I look at the form and I'm like, oh man, this horse is going to be dead last. How am I going to bet 500 to win on this horse? No, he's got to pass the whole field. On the turf, it's different, but on dirt, yeah.
Now we're going to talk a little about tomorrow's card.
Sure.
You're going to pick on me a little bit because I'm going to break a rule.
Okay.
I'm going to break a rule. And it's a dangerous, it's not a horse that I love, but I did the race and I come up with one horse. And when you come up with one horse, you know me, I'm a little different than a lot of players. I don't spread a lot. I don't go deep a lot. I take my swing, and if I'm right, I'm right. I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't have to use 3 or 4 horses. I'm willing to cash less tickets to win more money at the end of the day. So as opposed to having it for 50 cents or $1,
but you bet less races. You usually bet, to me at least, it seems you bet the better races. You don't bet the cheap ass race.
Correct.
You really like, when you're firing your money, to bet a solid allowance horse or a solid stakes horse that you got a big feeling that the class, where they fit, you feel good about the level they're in, and that's when you fire, and that's how you win, though.
Right, exactly. And I happen to like a horse in the spring. Okay, it's not a baby that Wesley Ward trains tomorrow. Okay. And I'll tell you why. I'll make my case. I could be wrong.
What race we in?
We're in the sprint stake. What is it called? The Ogden, it's the Phoenix, the grade 2 Phoenix. It's now called the Stoll whatever Ogden Phoenix, but it's the
Oh, okay. Oh no, I think you're about to pick the same horse.
you like him too?
Is it Nakatomi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah,
Now I'm a little biased though because my buddies own him. And
okay.
they've been trying to get me to bet on this horse probably 10 times. And
I like him tomorrow, and I think
I love the post. He's not going to be that far back. He will be back, but the pace is going to be hot. And he's going to be a price. He's going to be he's 4-to-1 morning line. I think he'll go up.
Right, and he
I think
gets
that's low.
Irad. I wish Tyler stuck with him. I'm not knocking Irad. I wish Tyler stuck with him, but Tyler rides, you know, that what is it, banjo, whatever name is.
Yeah, he can't come off him, but
right.
He's a Churchill horse. How's he going to run it?
Right, he's 0 for at Keeneland.
Yep.
Nakatomi is 3 for 4 at Keeneland. Okay.
And again, big name horse in a graded stake. You got to avoid him, right? He's going to be 8-5. He don't like Keeneland. He's a Churchill specialist. I mean, he might win, but that's exactly what the rules are telling you to go against.
Now, you mentioned something earlier that I think is one of the most underrated and not appreciated enough angles in horse racing, that if people really understood more and really factored more, they'd handicap better. Okay. I'm not going to say they'd win more because there's so much that goes into that, but we talked about a mile and being 5 or in with that 2-turn mile. Okay. Ground loss is so much more important than a lot of people realize when you watch a race. And you really can't appreciate that a lot of times from just the past performances. So when you watch replays and take notes and watch things, and I could say this, one of the things that drew me to Nakatomi is he come out of a lot of sprints against some fast horses where he just didn't get the right setup and lost a lot of ground and was really wide and was really, you know, ready to run at the end, but just the race was over, you know? And then last time they moved him out of the graded stakes into that allowance race at Saratoga. I love that they did that. Track came up sloppy, didn't matter. He jogged, he finally got it right. So to me, he's coming in with the right setup, like you said, speed-wise, a track that he's 3 for 4 on that he loves, and he's coming in with confidence now. You know what I mean? He's coming in off a nice win. And when I look at this field, I don't see no superstar sprinter in here that like is Breeders' Cup sprint material. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody going to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, so I just really, I mean, he jumped out at me. And then at the beginning when we said Wesley Ward in the fall, I think more though that rule applies to the babies than it does.
Yeah, that's about babies,
right.
not regular stakes horses.
Right.
And they've been targeting this. This is what they've been targeting for 3-4 months with this horse. So, you know,
I didn't think because of the Ward fact that you were going to land on him. So I'm surprised, but I'm glad.
He's been so unlucky with inside posts too. He finally gets a good outside post with a race with speed in it. I mean, he's a little bit too far back for to fire on him, but man, that price is going to be right. And you can't get a better rider, that's for sure. I mean,
he's going to be running. He's going to be running.
Irad's going to be flying. Who do you like in the Alcibiades?
You know, I really had a hard time with this race, and this is a race where I landed on a horse more by default than anything else. But I wound up landing on Vivi's Dream.
God, we keep liking the same horse. I landed on her all year.
Okay, I haven't. I landed on her here.
Now people will say Bright Work beat her, but if you watch the replay,
I did. You know me.
The rider beat her.
Right. I agree with that. And
way too overconfident.
And that was a sprint. That was a sprint. You know what I mean? We're now going 2 turns. Bright Work, I liked in both of the races at Saratoga that she won. I liked her both times. But she didn't look to me like a 2-turn horse. I remember after she won the last time, my friend said to me, he goes, wow, that horse, you like her, at 5-1, you like her right back. She looks like she's nice. Yeah, you should be tough in the Breeders' Cup. I said, I don't think she's a Breeders' Cup kind of horse at all. He goes, why? I said, just to me, not a horseman, I'm a handicap, looks like a sprinter. You know what I mean?
And look what post she had at Saratoga. And I was the same way. I really liked her last time. After I didn't like her the first time.
I loved her the first time at 5-1.
She got great outside posts, got the perfect stalking trips in sprints that's where you want to be at Saratoga. She had everything exactly the way she wanted it. Now she gets a further outside post than she really wants with a ton of speed inside of her. She's going to get floated out on the first turn. She's going to have to be really, really good to win this race because she's going to take the heat all the way. Why VV's Dream's going to tuck in about 6th or 7th, sit on that fence and just sit and wait. And she absolutely wants the 2 turns. She's going to be flying at the end. BJ is a solid rider. He knows Keeneland. I really like her, and I think the 5-2 will hold. I think they're going to make Bright Work 6-5, and
yeah, they'll bet the Cox horses just because they bet Cox horses. I think the 5-2 definitely holds. I think maybe even 3-1. And I agree on Brian Hernandez is probably one of the most underrated, solid riders in the country. I mean, that guy is solid. I mean, he won the Breeders' Cup Classic on Fort Larned when I mean, that kid can ride with anybody.
Yep.
I think he's just got the, mentality to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. I don't think he aspires to go to the other circuits. But I mean, if he rode year round in New York or California, I think he would have a decent career and hold his own.
Yeah.
I really do.
I agree. I mean, it took McPeak a while before he finally settled in on Hernandez being his main guy. And ever since he has, they've both done better.
Right.
Because Brian can ride. I agree. And I think VV's Dream is the perfect route horse, not only for the Breeders' Cup, but maybe for the Oaks if she continues to improve, because she looks, I mean, I really like her tomorrow. I think she's going to run huge. So that's my opinion in that race.
Well, we gave 2 races, and interestingly enough, we were both on the same horse. Neither one is a favorite. So
I wanted to give you one horse Saturday.
Okay, I didn't do Saturday yet, so we'll ride with you.
All right, in the 3rd race. This is my kind of race. It's a sprint. I got the 6th hole out of, I believe, 8 horses. 1 start horse of John Ortiz. And I got this horse off, and thank you, Churchill Downs, for finally doing this. They got with Bruno, they got that website up there for free to where you can watch the works now. They're just like XBTV, covers New York wonderful, California wonderful, but now we've got the Kentucky works that we've been begging for 10 years. I got this horse by watching workouts. I love 1-start horses anyway.
Right.
I went back and I watched this horse's work, and man, did this horse work well. 4-1 morning line. The name of the horse is 3 Pokes. Santana's riding, so you know he's going to break. We're going to get a good stalking trip on the outside, and I don't like the favorite to jump in there. So you're going to get 4-1. He's my best bet of the day all day on Saturday. I'm praying I get at least 3-1. I can't count in Italian as a best bet when she's going to be 2-5.
Right.
This is a horse that 1 start, you're going to get somewhere in that 3 to 4-1 area, because nobody bets John Ortiz, even though, I mean, he's got.
The guy's deadly. He's deadly.
He's really good. So
Yeah.
1 start, stalking speed on the outside, Santana. I cannot wait to bet on this horse on Saturday. I'm hoping the Cox draws in the 2nd race, because then we got a firster in the second race. We can tie into the doubles and stuff. But if he don't draw in the second race, then it's a 12-horse baby race at Keeneland. I mean, that's just throw them up in the air and hope one sticks. So it's hard to bet the double. So I'm just going to bet 3 pokes and hope I get 3 or 4 to 1. And if I do, I'm going to be sailing later.
Let's share a pearl of wisdom with the viewers that you and I have discussed in the past and agree on. And it ties into what you just said about one-start horses. Okay. A lot of people like one-start horses and gravitate to them, but they tend to gravitate to the one that ran good and that sticks out, that was second or third or closing or was the favorite and just got beat, where a lot of times people ignore that one-start horse that really looks like he didn't do all that much. And today he's 10, 12, 15, 14 to 1, 9 to 1. And he's got just as good a chance, or she's got just as good a chance as that one that everybody's looking at, you know?
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that angle, which is an angle that you and I share appreciation of and have made scores applying. So talk a little bit about that kind of one-start horse.
I absolutely love the one-start horse that runs somewhere in that 45 buyer to 65 buyer. I don't want the one that ran an 88 because he's going to be 3 to 5. I want the one that got left a little bit in the gate, might have gotten a little bit of trouble, ran on a little bit at the end, has a really good trainer like a Steve Asmussen, a Brad Cox, a Pletcher, a Chad Brown. I look to did they get bet a little bit? You know, were they 4 to 1 or 6 to 1 first time out, that where, you know, maybe somebody knew something and they just didn't fire. American Pharaoh didn't fire first time out. Unique Bella didn't fire first time out. I mean, I could go on and on about the horses that have lost first time out that have went on to be champions. So you can get a horse that just broke 6th out of 12, ran 4th, ran 5th.
Secretariat lost first time out.
Yeah, that just didn't really figure it out. Just it wasn't sure, or caught a weird track. Sometimes it rains right before the race and they seal the track, and all of a sudden this horse didn't really like it. It didn't know what was going on. It started to rain. He got spooked at the gate. You know, things happen with these babies, these first timers, that, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I love a horse tomorrow that's a one-start horse that was hyped through the roof, didn't run, going to be 2 or 3 to 1. I'm going to be betting on. I mean, they're all over the place. There's a horse today. I mean, we're filming this on what is today? Thursday. There's a horse running at Belmont at 3:30 today. That's a one-start horse. That's running against a Gargan firster that everybody in the universe is going to know about. He's going to be 6 to 5. I got a one-start horse that's going to be 3 to 1. I'd rather have him. You know, sometimes they figure it out. We're all creatures of habit. The first time I'm on a computer and somebody shows me what to do, I'm lost. But once they show me how to do it, I'm fine. I don't need him sitting next to me. I know how to do it.
Right.
I mean, I just did it with all this credit card garbage we have to deal with FBG. You know, I had no idea how to load a credit card, how to get a guy to renew, all that. I don't know how to do none of that. He showed it to me once. I'm good. I don't need him anymore. I can do it myself. Right. Horses are the same way. They break out of the gate. They have no idea what's going on. They got 12 horses around them. You know, that's where Brad Cox running those 3-horse races in the mornings. I didn't even know that until I started watching all the free replays.
Yeah. And to me, guys like Brad, Todd, Bob, Christophe Clement, believe it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Christophe Clement's great second time out.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times he's had one that ran flat and the next time, boom. Or what he does a lot of times, he'll run them on dirt the first time. They'll run 5th or 6th, and then he puts them on turf and goes long. Right. And they air them and pay $20. I mean, those are I dig and dig like you do. I dig for those kind of horses, because those are the kind of horses you don't have to bet as much on, and you can make a nice little score on, and you don't have to worry about them being even money. I mean, everybody can see One Star Pletcher ran an 82 buyer number. He's in a maiden race with 6 other horses.
Right.
I mean, come on. Yeah, you want to bet 500 to get back 800? Okay.
Right.
But that's not going to sustain.
No.
Where these 1-star horses that break 6th, run 4th, I'm telling you, Brad Cox is so good second time out. Steve Asmussen is so good second time out. I would rather have them lose first time out, and then everybody gets off of them, and then you catch them second time out, because it happens all the time with those guys.
I agree. And you know, what I was actually going to say is those particular barns, the way they take their horses out, and, you know, now that people can watch maybe more, with the Churchill feed, take them out in sets and train them with other horses. It's an edge over a guy that's got only a couple of horses and he's got one horse to breeze on Saturday, and he's walking around asking everybody, hey, you got a horse to breeze? I want to breeze my horse in company. You know what I mean? Where these guys have sets of good horses they can breeze and run behind, and, you know, put inside, put outside, and just give them such a better education and foundation, which a lot of times you see in that second start when they don't win first time out. You know, it's a big edge. You know,
It
so
is, because you can
may
watch.
give up a point or two on price, but you're going to cash a lot of tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can catch a 1-star horse and then go watch their work and say, well, look at the work before he ran, now look at the work or two after he ran, a lot of times you're going to see a different animal. All of a sudden they know what they're doing now.
One of my favorite angles, when you see the light bulb go off, and I never really understood that until I owned horses, and it was really in the claiming game that I learned it. Okay, because when I had horses with Peter Walder, okay, they were all claimers. I was never fortunate enough, and that never, you know, went to the sales or had anything like that. I just decided to get a couple of claimers and have some fun, and I had a great run, you know, for 3 or 4 years. I really did. Won a lot of races, and one of the things we would do is we would look in the form, and we would scour the barns, and we would claim horses from who we called, no offense meant to anybody, gyp guys. Guys we knew cut corners. Guys we knew didn't spend a lot of money, didn't use the best feed, didn't do all the vet work, didn't do everything that could be done, just did the bare minimum. And you know, we would claim a horse, okay, from one of these guys. We'd put them on the best feed. We'd get them the best vet work. We'd put them on the best supplements. We'd, you know, do acupuncture, this, that, well, whatever you could possibly do. Fix their teeth, do everything. Get rid of the ulcers, everything. And I would watch, okay? And our typical thing was to claim one of these horses for 7,500, 10,000, 12,000, okay? Do all of this and run back 30, 45 days later, a little fetch for 16 or 20. And it was amazing, because I would go to the barn in the morning, and in like 2-3 weeks, it would happen. And all of a sudden, you would just see it. You know, you'd get to the barn one morning and you'd go to the stall, and, you know, be like, this is a different animal. You know what I mean? You know, from just like standing there like this, now he's right at the front of the stall looking at you. Who's here? He's alert. He's dappled. He's this, he's that. He's prancing out to the racetrack. He knows what he's going to do. And off the claim, we were winning like 40%. You know what I mean? Back then, and people were writing, oh, guy was juicing horses. You know, no, he wasn't. You know, and I was there, you know. Well, if he was, it certainly, I didn't see it. I didn't know anything about it. I saw everything he was doing, and it was working, and it was all doing the right thing, really, and taking horses specifically from guys who we felt didn't do the right thing. And a good argument towards that is the one horse we ate, okay, was the most expensive claim I ever made, and it wasn't from one of those guys. I claimed a horse named Am Flippy from Alan Jerkins for $62,500. Okay. And we couldn't do anything with the horse. With the horse. I mean, I don't know what Alan did that made the horse run. And Alan was a hay, oats, and water guy. Okay, no doubt about it. You know, we just thought we could turn this horse, you know, maybe she was a little overlooked in his barn and make a stake horse out of her or something. And we could barely get her to finish a race, and it didn't matter what we ran her for. So that was the one I ate. I think the first time we ran her back in an allowance race. I remember walking into the racetrack, and my horses ran under Concord Stables. That wasn't my name, but I owned it. And people were giving me a tip on my own horse. People come in and listen. They love this horse. I'm like, they do? Like, yeah, they love this horse. They took from Jerkins. Walder's 40% off the claim. And we really didn't like her because we already knew after we took her that we couldn't do anything with her. She didn't respond like all the other ones because Jerkins was probably doing everything right, probably doing things better than we were. I mean, he's Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? He was Alan Jerkins. And, you know, we were like hoping she ran okay. And people are telling me how much, oh, they love this horse today. I'm like, okay. She did what she did for Jerkins, only she stopped. She opened up 3 lengths, turning for home. We thought, oh, okay. Stopped on a dime. Wound up winning. I think we won 5-6 races later. We ran her at Penn National, I think, for 10,000 or something like that, and she was claimed. And I never knew what happened to her after that, which is a shame because I wasn't into the game like I was today and didn't understand what happens to horses and whatnot. Because I probably would have retired her if it was today instead of doing that. You know what I mean? Because who knows what became of her and what responsibility I have on that, and I regret that, honestly. But you know, I just didn't know any better. Stupid, you know what I mean? Just never thought that far ahead back then like I do now. But yeah, we wound up winning, but that was the only one. The rest of them, like you said, just that light bulb went off. So it was different with claimers than with the second time starters, but it's the same principle. You know what I'm saying? Where just you see that work after they ran with the second time starter, and it's just different animal, you know?
Yep.
And once you kind of see that stuff with your own eyes, in my opinion, it's priceless. You know, I mean, I would rather trust my eyes and observing things like that than anything I read in any past performance or anybody's opinion or any number or anything. You know what I mean? If I'm going to bet my money, I love betting it on stuff that I see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I love those websites. I mean, I lived on XB TV during Saratoga and Belmont, and then now that they've got the Kentucky one, I mean, I'm on it every Sunday night and Monday, just workout after workout after workout. You know, right click, drag the name of the horse over. You know, click again and watch the race.
Tell everybody how to find that workout site, and tell everybody how to find your site for your Keeneland package if they want more information from Keeneland Dan.
Sure. First of all, my site is fatbaldguyracing.com. That's my site. The workout site is KentuckyBred.org, and then you have to put /workout videos. So KentuckyBred.org/workout videos, and you'll see it. It'll pop up. You just all you got to do is type the name of the horse in. You type the name of the horse in, and it will pop up every work that they got a video of. And man, I'll tell you, not just the big name horses, but all those babies. You know, one start horse ran dead last all the way around the track. Before you dismiss him, see if he's got a workout. See if you can watch it. Maybe he works with 3 other horses and beats them. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Maybe maybe this horse is a little bit better than his first. He's 30-1. Put him into your pick 3 or pick 4 or pick 5. I mean, you don't have to bet on him, but you can add him to your ticket. He's the ticket mate. He's the separator. And that's how you get the research that when you do some of these, you know, you could put some of these horses in and vice versa. And this has happened a bunch of times now. you can throw them out.
Right. And,
There was
and a lot of people don't realize that being able to throw out a horse, especially a shorter priced horse,
Yep.
is just as valuable as throwing in a live one. I love being able to eliminate horses.
There was a Brad Cox horse, first time starter last week, that went off 6-5. Got beat 3 lengths in his workout by another 2-year-old. Now, I passed the race. I said, well, I can't single him. I just watched him get crushed in a workout. He wins off by 5. How good's the other horse that hasn't run yet named Ethan Energy?
Right.
Ethan Energy. When that horse runs, you can bet whatever you want.
Right.
I mean, and that's where you just need the notepad. Okay, it tells you who they're working with,
Right.
which is half the battle if you didn't know. But
100%.
Bruno's group does a great job of making sure we know exactly which horses on the inside, outside. When they work the 3 horses, who's in between. But there was a Brad Cox horse a week or 2 ago. They made 8-5 that ran 3rd in a 3-horse workout. I was like, I ain't taking him. He ran last.
Right.
I mean, you can get those by watching that, because most people just see the outfit. I'm betting, and he ends up 6-5 or 8-5, and there's a Steve Asmussen coming up that I was ready to bet my house on, and his workmate ran at Indiana and ran last yesterday. Now I don't know what to do. I'm going, uh-oh, wait a minute. I mean, he did crush that horse.
Right.
But the horse went to Little Indiana up the street in a little maiden race and ran last. Like, well, maybe he's running against Barney Rubble. I mean, I mean, maybe that's why he looks so good. So now I'm like, well, I got to back off that horse a little bit. But that's the kind of stuff when you do the research. Yeah, you're going to get some wrong, but it's going to help you so much, because you're going to have your notes. You're going to, and like you said, your eyes, you learn.
Right.
6-7 years ago, I couldn't watch a workout and know what the hell I was talking about.
Right.
But now, after watching 10,000 videos and doing this every week, 100 videos, 200 videos a week, I understand what to look for with strides, and who looks like a turf horse and who's choppy and hard on themselves. You know, who's you're working, you're like, man, this horse is fast, but he ain't gonna last. Look at this workout. Chop, chop, chop. You know, New York Thunder was like that. You know, God rest his soul, but he was a ticking time bomb, and anybody that had ever seen him work or even run, you knew he was a ticking time bomb. He was not going to last. And we were all hoping he'd win the Breeders' Cup, retire, and everything be fine. And unfortunately, he caught a track right after the rain, and it was cuppy, and unfortunately, the worst thing possible happened. But going back to the workouts, if you watch those workouts, you knew it was he's fast, but man, he's not the soundest animal in the world. And Cox has got one the same way. Strobe. I mean, Strobe, they can't run him very often, and they ran him the other day, and everybody thought, well, he's got a chance to win. But if you watched his workout right before the race, it was like, man, something ain't right with him. He's chopping, he's not reaching out. Like, yeah, I think it's time to stay away from him for a while until he maybe he cycles back, you know, into good form. But that's the stuff it's how you keep notes. It's how you do research. It's how you practice. So we can ramble all day about that, but that website is gigantic. And of course we put all that on the sheet when we're doing the sheet. Hey, I watched the video. Anytime I watch videos, I watched the video of this horse. So that way, if you want to go watch it, you know, there's a video, just go over and watch it.
Right.
So it makes it easier.
All right. A lot to digest. I think you, me, and Ed are doing a Breeders' Cup show for the Classic once the pre-entries come out. So we'll be back for that. Dan's got a lot of stuff coming up for the Breeders' Cup. He's always got stuff coming up for you know, Keeneland and different packages. We got a ton of stuff coming up for Past the Wire. We got our annual Breeders' Cup seminar coming up. I'm excited about it this year a little bit more than most, but
and let me leave you with one thing, John. John, let me leave you with one thing. You'll love this.
Anything.
The viewers will like this. The last 5 Breeders' Cups that were run at Santa Anita on dirt. The winner in the 2019 Vino Rosso sat 4th. Arrogate sat 3rd. Byron led wire to wire. Mucho Macho Man sat 4th. Fort Larned, wire to wire. You gonna take a deep closer?
No.
You better be in the first flight.
Right.
That's all I'm telling you. As you guys read that form for the Classic, as they start trickling out. I hope Forte runs. He can't win.
Let's talk a bit. Let's close with that about Forte. Okay. I've been saying this since May. All right. And this may age badly. I don't think Forte runs in the Classic. Okay.
I don't think he will. I think he retires.
I think he's done. I don't think he was right for the Derby. I think they tried to get by and run and they thought they were going to win, but I don't think he was right. I think they made the right call. I think he should have definitely been disqualified in the Jim Dandy. I didn't think he had a chance in the Travers, and he didn't run at all. I think the Belmont was an extremely overrated race for him. Arcangelo is turning out to be the real deal, but I think it was an overrated race for him. And now no works for a while, and all of a sudden, oh, now we're dealing with a quarter crack, but we still think we can get him ready and whatnot. I'd be shocked if he's in the Breeders' Cup Classic. From a betting standpoint, I certainly hope he is, because I don't think he's got a chance to
I hope all those closers run.
Yeah.
Let them all run. I can promise you this. I don't know who I'm going to take yet because we don't know the field, but it will be somebody that's going to be in the first flight.
Yeah, I don't think Forte will be there, though, to tell you the truth.
I agree. I think he retires.
Always a pleasure, Keeneland Dan, and always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your insight. You can email Dan at fatbaldguyracing.com for the rules. He will send them to you. He's very good like that. He's got them in a nice PDF, if I remember correctly. I know I have a copy of them here. So unless he's changed them, I still got them, but email him for them.
Right the PDF right to you. Take me 1 second.
You'll get them, and they certainly won't hurt. That's for sure. All right. Ciao.
All right, John. Good luck this weekend.
You as well. Always a pleasure having you on, Dan. Thank you.
All righty.
Classic. Vino Rosso has taken the lead, and it's a vintage performance by Vino Rosso.
Hi everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Hello friends, Cheeto DePazio here, the Mob King. Anytime I'm wanting to know any information about the sport of kings, horse racing, I look to my man Jonathan Stettin at PassTheWire.com. And if you're looking to bet, like I always am, no better source than Jonathan. They don't call him the Pick Six King for nothing. So why don't you do what I do with anything that pertains to horse racing? PassTheWire.com. Tell him Cheeto DePazio sent you.
It is here, the big day, the day almost all of us in horse racing wait for, Breeders' Cup Saturday. It looks like we're going to see some really, really impressive races on Saturday. It starts with the filly and mare sprint. One of my stronger opinions on the card is Goodnight Olive to start things off. I think she gets a perfect trip.
Goodnight Olive, 6 in a row and a Breeders' Cup champion.
We've got Modern Games going in the Turf Mile for Godolphin. The Godolphin and Aidan O'Brien horses we said on Past the Wire TV all week long on the backside. Those two contingents stuck out from all the rest. Modern Games looking for a big race from him.
Modern Games storming down the center of the course. Modern Games, a two-time Breeders' Cup winner. You bet he is.
That is Rebels Romance, who in my humble opinion is one of Godolphin's better chances this year. Rebels Romance is a very, very good looking Godolphin horse that can absolutely win this race. Rebels Romance is a must use.
Rebels Romance rolling on the outside. Warlock got it. Makes her bend down toward the inside. Rebels Romance down the center of the course. Has it close to home. Rebels Romance wins the turf over Stoney.
We got Flightline that they're putting in the best ever category. There's no question that the race he ran in the Pacific Classic is one of the best races we've seen any racehorse run ever.
It is Flightline. It is spine-tingling, jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, secretariat-like.
Now, probably to me, the most intriguing horse in the race, Arabian Night, who I thought was probably one of the best 3-year-olds early in the year.
Feel for the $1 million FanDuel Pacific Classic sent on their way. On the inside, Go Rocket Ride broke beautifully and goes straight to the lead. Being joined now by Arabian Night. 2 favorites, 1-2 in the early going.
Arabian Night is the last, and maybe mirror on the wall. Who's the fastest one of all? At the end of the day, it just might be Arabian Night if he goes forward as much as I think he can off that 1 3/4.
It's Arabian Night hanging on. Go Rocket Ride. Arabian Night has won the Pacific Classic.
I land on the bottom horse, Bright Future, for Todd Pletcher.
As the field turns for home, Bright Future is up to take the lead.
1 for 1 at Saratoga. You all know how much I like that, and we all know that all meet long, the horses that went over the track, the horses that like the track.
Bright Future digging in. Proxy's trying to get him. Bright Future or Proxy. Bright Future, Proxy. Here's the line. Photo finish. Bright Future.
Very interesting in Detroit, in my opinion. This is a horse that always showed a lot of potential. Exploded second time out, win by 4.
Here comes Cogburn, and Cogburn has his sights on Nobles in the final 16th of a mile.
There's a lot of turf in this pedigree, top and bottom.
It will be Cogburn on the outside, getting to the front.
The other thing that I like about Cogburn a lot is when I look at his Thoroughgraph numbers. He's got some fast races. He's got a 1.
And Cogburn under Ricardo Santana Jr. wins the Troy.
I love in these 3-year-old races. Again, those of you that watch the show and have been reading, you know my columns and a lot of my handicapping things over the years know I like up and comers. I like betting horses to do things that maybe we can anticipate that some others can't, and that's how you sometimes beat a lot of favorites. I like program trading.
And program trading, resilient coming back on the inside. Program trading would not be denied.
White Barrio is very interesting to me for a couple of reasons. We heard from Blake, we know what the Vaughn thinks, okay? Second time Rick Dutrow. This time gets the jump from the catbird seat and turning for home, White Barrio was going to be in the race, if not on the lead, in the race, and the one they got to go get.
They're at the top of the stretch in the Whitney, and White Barrio is the leader narrowly over Giant Game.
We've had Irad breezing him a bunch at Belmont before he came up here. I know Irad really likes him. You know, we think that he should improve off of his last race. And, you know, if he gets a clean trip, we're expecting him to run big.
Look at White Barrio and Arad Ortiz Jr. in a runaway. White Barrio wins by almost 6 lengths.
Does it better.